Silly. Melanie Lee. Brooklyn sample. Are you ready?
We are.
Yeah,
for another episode
of Real.
Now that real. I know you guys are gonna really enjoy all of our little segment interludes.
We wrote them ourselves.
We sure did, and we were completely sober.
Yeah, don't look at the video of them. This is a fun episode because I feel like Langdon brought in the room things that I didn't even realize I needed. She comes in with such a cool perspective because she works in the mental health field.
Mm-hmm.
That it like cleared it. Like I felt a clearing happen to me.
Yeah, there was a clearing. There was some validation.
Yeah,
there was some reminders.
Yeah,
we all used to live in Panama together, so we at least can share that expat insight with each other, that experience that we had, and how we continue doing that. Now we're back in the States.
Yeah. And I'm going to say, I know people might get sick of the fact that we talk about Panama or whatever, but it was such a crazy chapter that I think like everybody out there, think about what was your craziest chapter. Like for this was almost like my college years, right? It was a chunk of time that we all went crazy. We were all completely there for each other. We were all like totally in a brand new place, not knowing anything.
We had a lot of creative freedom.
We got married, had kids, had new children, found new partners. We had so many life changes during that time. So I think we refer to it as our Panama days, but I think everybody has or should have that in their life where they're like, wow, this chunk of time was my real learning.
Right. Especially with our situation, it's so unique.
Yeah.
And we were all experiencing it together. And like you said, we've come out with some incredible relationships, one being with Langdon, who is back in the States as well, but we still, communicate with and talk with and obviously get inspiration from.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about it.
I am too. She brought up something earlier about how you have people in your, like if you have a label that is your marriage or your children or your whatever, or your living situation or whatever it is, if you say something a little bit off color about it, right, to other people and they go, well, why isn't this happening in your life? And you're like, well, because this and this. The expat community has always been like, oh, cool. Yeah. So even when things would change, like relationships would change, there would be somebody that came down that was married and then they decided to have an open relationship and then they stayed married and then like all, you know what I mean? So like, everybody was so open that there was no judgment. And so it's weird sometimes coming back to the States and being like, oh yeah, this is normal to have these really random ways of looking about life. And that this group of people will always be like, oh, okay, yeah, no big deal. Mm-hmm. That's your choice. Do it. That's great.
And support you.
Mm-hmm. And there's not judgment. So it's funny. I think that is for me, that's what I kind of got out of it too. I had people around me that were so like-minded.
Which is why we end up going back and continuing these relationships and having them on as guests because it's a whole trust thing. It's like, because we've gone through this unique experience together and you were so open and non-judgmental about where we were in our lives that I can trust you. Yeah. It's like a creative partner, even with some of the people we didn't even create with. Right. But it's that same kind of, I don't trust. So check out this episode. You're going to love it.
Yeah. Are you ready for the real?
Are you going to stay out still and just stay and listen to our, that real?
Yeah.
Just stay for that.
Well, then listen to Langdon
and then
because
stay for
she will change your life.
Well, once you hear the real, then you're end up staying for the episode.
That's true.
Because it's so good.
It's so good.
I feel like I need more of this craziness.
It's real.
You done with that real?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Moms Are Too. This is a beautiful episode of The Real. Brooke, would you like to tell everybody?
The Real. Yes. Thank you for joining us for The Real. We've got an old friend, Langdon Comee. We like to call her Lang the Dawn. She was known in Panama, which is how we met her. Yes. Langdon Comee.
Hi, Langdon. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you
I'm
for
so glad you're
having me.
here. Yeah. Yes, girl.
She's in town visiting, and she has a lot to talk to us about because this girl's been through a lot and can share a lot. And we will. I'm excited to hear your story because I don't know anything really.
It's quite a journey.
Yay.
It's quite a journey, and it's in strong juxtaposition to my life in Panama.
Oh,
right?
okay.
It's definitely a 180 for sure.
Well, let's talk about how we know Langdon. So if you don't know, Melanie and I lived in Panama for a short time, and we got to meet.
How long were you there?
I was there 7 years.
Me too.
Yeah.
But different.
Like so you came
different
a little
7.
after.
Yeah,
exactly.
And we all had a child in Panama. All three of us went through that.
Not the same child.
Yes. Yeah, we were co-parenting.
We all had, we all really were co-parenting. Although I didn't have mine until after you guys both left, so I was fucking alone.
You weren't part of the mommy group.
No, I wasn't.
She was afraid of the mommy group, she said.
I was.
Really? We had a little mommy group of women in Panama with kids.
There was a day,
expats.
Yeah, there was a day where someone, I can't remember who it was having a baby shower because everybody was having babies and stuff, and I was invited, and I was crying the whole way there because I was
it mine?
Maybe, or Danielle's. There's 2 Danielles that had babies down there.
But you thought we bit? Like
No, I didn't have anything necessarily in common. Right. But when we would go out and party, it was like we were all the same people. Expats are expats, right? Like we were talking about earlier. We all have the same mentality. We all love each other. It's all open to everyone's things. Right. And it doesn't matter who you are. You're always welcome. And we help each other out. And then, but for some reason in the mommy aspect, I didn't understand it. And I never wanted to even have kids. And so
I remember when you were pregnant and there was it's not that you weren't excited about it, but there were trepidations. There was some ambivalence about what you were going to give up in the process, right?
Yeah.
Because you had a really interesting life.
For sure.
Right.
And so, I was always scared of everybody, but
what was fun too around that time was we kind of pulled Langdon into the theater world. Yes. You got to do some really fun stuff.
That happened to me in Panama, honestly.
And you did. So I know at first weren't you on our stage crew? Were you our stage manager?
And then I tried out for improv.
And then you did improv, yeah.
You did improv.
I did. I made it by the skin of my teeth. Honestly, I was so grateful that they gave me a chance.
No, you did well at improv.
I loved it. But there was some talent. There was some interesting talent in Panama. Unexpected level of people interested in theater and arts.
Yeah.
Right?
Who were like bankers or lawyers or
dentists or something.
Yeah. And they just went and made sure that they had that outlet.
Yeah.
Which I think is a beautiful thing to have, especially when you're in another country that, for us, it felt like that was so familiar. And then to have the people that you were really good friends with and that you could even bring in and we all got to create together. It was just freaking awesome. And not only just create together, but have drinks together on the porch. And it was a whole community vibe, that theater.
Well, even beyond the theater, the expat community, you don't have family to turn to, right? So we become each other's family. We're emergency contacts. Can you help me because I'm running late? I need,
I've been kidnapped.
Right. So that's it.
Facts.
That's reality. So I felt so connected to my expat community. I really went through withdrawals when I left Panama. I really
and it wasn't just for the help, right? Having live-in help. It wasn't just that.
I had zero muscle memory for that. I really was scrambling, trying to figure out how to be an effective mom and, maintaining of the household and working. That was really ripping off the Band-Aid for me.
Yeah.
But no, it wasn't about that. It was about, I don't know, the openness and the community and also the ease of events. Whereas in the US, we're so overscheduled, we're so committed. We can live down the street from someone and see them once a month. There was just a lightness that I missed of, hey, what are you doing? Come over. Come grab a coffee.
Yeah.
You want to go grab lunch?
Everything felt as, go ahead. Everything as hard as it was down there, everything was harder. It also, I had to learn how to be there are no rules. Oh, okay, because I'm very rigid and structured and follow the rules and whatever. And so I remember my first time to the theater, Amit came to pick me up. And I was living in a high rise and he came up and he pulled up onto the sidewalk because there was no parking. And he's like, yeah, just come downstairs. And I came down and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, no, don't worry about it. I'm just here for a second. And no one batted an eye that they had to walk around this guy's car at the front door on the sidewalk of my thing because it's just, whatever.
Well, stop signs are suggestions. One ways are suggestions.
But think of the contrast. Like
I loved that though. After a while,
started walking across the street before the crosswalk was on in just a moment in California.
Yeah.
And I was mortified because I know every single person was like, "We don't cross the street."
Actually, California just passed the law where it's not illegal now to jaywalk.
Really?
It used to be.
Yeah.
You get a ticket. Yeah. And so now everyone's like, yeah, fuck that. Like you could just tell everyone can't wait to jaywalk because they've been restricted for so long.
Everything's a suggestion in Panama, though. Everything is sort of guidelines. That are, flexible.
It was hard to get used to. It was scary to get used to. But then after I came back to the States, I was kind of like, I mean, does it really matter? Like I finally got to a point where I was like, the world is not going to end if I take a nap during the day.
Right. Move the needle a little bit.
Right.
You're
good.
Well, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there were areas where you appreciated some of the, structural accountability, right? Like when you moved back to the States, there was things like, well, I know that my mail is going to get into my mailbox, or I know that the trash is going to get picked up.
There's any mail service.
Right.
Thank you, Benjamin Franklin.
I have an address.
Yeah, good concept.
That there's addresses, or that, just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have felt like, if I'm going to sue somebody, not that I would, or go after somebody, that the law is going to work.
Right.
For the most part, considering, because out there,
now,
it's just like.
If you're here and you get pulled over, you can't be like, I mean.
Here's $5 and my
take care
passport.
of this here. Yeah.
Can we work something? I mean, all of that. And I remember going to the U.S. for a chunk of time, maybe in the summer to visit my family. I was there 3 or 4 weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
And I would come back and it was palpable that I'd just been in the U.S. I was running too fast. I was talking too fast. I was stressed out. I was less patient. People knew that you'd been in the U.S. for a while when you came back.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, you could feel it. So, there's something I think, like, even just for your endocrine system, you're like, like this place. Like when I'd get off the plane, there was that weird moldy smell.
Yes.
And I was like,
forever. Yeah.
But what I can say I experienced as a consequence of that is that I lost my executive functioning. My standards had slipped. My punctuality, my time management, my accountability, even, really, because the metric was, the bar was so low, right?
Yeah.
That when I got back into U.S. work environment, I felt like I was out of shape. There's no other way to say it. I really there was a year of personal and professional development to get back to the standard of performance required in a 2-income, no service in the house, very high professional standard workplace.
Yeah.
And that was a tough transition for me.
So where did you move? You left Panama, and then where did you move from there?
Well, in Panama, I started working for my mother remotely. And we have a mental health facility. It's been at that point, it had been in place for 27 years.
Yeah.
Her office manager resigned, and I understood the business. I'd grown up in it, and she needed my help. So I just took over, and we, it was back in the day, we had Skype, and we had like a Maryland number.
Skype.
Right? Yeah. And I was learning
Skype.
how to, I forgot. So I took over, and I began to take a larger and larger role. And I still, my youngest was only 1 year at this point. And then there was a point where, after working with her for a couple of years, she said, I'm not in a position where I want to run my business. I don't want to work in and on my business anymore. So if you want to maintain this role, come home and we can grow the business together, or I'm going to shut down this structure and I'm going to go to a private practice. And that was a tough call because I was leaving everything I loved. I'd been there 7 years, but I also realized I wasn't going to be able to offer the same amount of opportunities to my kids if I didn't go.
Yeah.
Right. In terms of being able to replicate the kind of really interesting extracurriculars, the education, the interventions, the supplements of music, art, tutoring. Right. And so I was wrestling with that a little bit, and not to defame Panama. I think it actually has a lot of offerings, but I also didn't know if I was going to be in a position financially to be able to offer these things on my trajectory in Panama.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was 2 strikes against me, and I decided to return home and take on this opportunity.
Yeah.
Which it's in Maryland, D.C. area?
It's in Maryland, D.C. area. And so I came back pretty humbly, and my mother's a person that does not dole out offerings easily. So I
Yeah.
had to earn my stripes in the positions. I was the office manager, and then I was the practice manager, and I was the managing director. And now I'm the CEO.
Yeah.
And now I'm an owner.
Oh,
Right?
Nice.
But that trajectory was 12 years.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
So that's what you're doing now, right? So you're managing what was your mom's like concept of like her career, right? Like what she would kind of was founded on. She's a psychologist and a well-known one.
She's internationally known for ADHD specialization and also focus in underserved population.
Sorry.
Girls, women, aging now. You know, so there are a lot of subsets where people didn't get research and there was no investment in how that manifested in their population. So she's very well known in being like, who are we not looking at?
Oh, that's amazing.
And taking deep dives into other subsets of ADHD.
So are you allowed to say the name of the company?
Yeah, of course. It's the Chesapeake Center for Learning and Behavioral Health. And we used to be the Chesapeake ADHD Center, but our scope expanded far beyond ADHD.
Yeah.
So we went into any comorbidities. So, you know, people who come to us, at least especially if they're adult, they now are anxious or maybe they're depressed, maybe they have OCD. There's usually a cluster of things that we're helping by the time they get to us. And then the concept was we wanted to offer a collective set of services that would serve our population's mission in recovery, but I didn't want them going all over town, right? I didn't want them getting an assessment here.
Yes.
A psychiatrist here who doesn't know their therapist
and
here.
no one's communicating to each other. Yeah.
No one's talking. There's no case collaboration, and they're having to start their story over 15 times.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So we were like, I looked at everything as from the lens of an ADHD mom with kids who need services, and what do I need as a parent? And I designed the company from the lens of the mom who needs the services, not to leave the dads out, but I mean, that's my viewpoint. So I developed it from my viewpoint. And so that's what it's really about. It's a really dynamic, interesting place, tons of continuing education, collaboration. It's grown exponentially. It's a very different animal than when I took it over.
Yeah.
But what's been fun about it in trying to hold on to a little bit of, I guess, who I was in Panama, because there's really very little in my life now that was,
fun.
No mañana.
There's no mañana.
Yeah.
There's just the demands currently on my life don't really don't.
Yeah.
And I know this is a moment in time, and that'll come back. But like, where did I see myself? How did I continue to bring myself into the story? And I guess my feeling on that is the culture of my company. It reflects it's where I wanted to work. My mom and I tried to design a place that we would want to work. So I got to think about, I don't know if I'm succeeding, but I think I am. Employee benefits, workplace culture, investing in a lot of, especially post-pandemic. How do we keep people connected? How do we keep the discussion going? How do we people in growth mode?
Yeah.
That's been really hard. But what's fun is I don't need to ask permission.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's yours.
It's mine.
Yeah. That's incredible. Is it also a live-in facility, or is it outpatient kind of?
We're not acuity. So we have a lot of good partnerships that we can refer when people need more intensive intervention.
Yeah.
But that's not really what we do. We do ADHD, learning disabilities, and any affiliated comorbidity, meaning like, what else do you have?
And that's all in-house.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's assessment, it's program, it's services,
coaching,
all within the
yeah.
in-house Chesapeake Center.
Where are you guys located?
Our flagship's in Bethesda.
Okay.
And then we have a Silver Spring in Fulton. So all of that's Maryland. And then we just opened up a Ponte Vedra, Florida office.
Okay.
So we're looking to try to make some potential expansion in the future, but we're more concerned about how do we create our clinical standard before we do that. Because I've seen a lot of people grow and drop.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, are you afraid of, I work with somebody right now who's really afraid to expand because it's so much about A, her company culture, but B, the way she treats the animals or people or whatever.
Right.
And so her taking a step back or you opening up different places, like how do you make sure that your company culture is carried through? Is that in the hiring process? Is that in do you have like a
training,
Bible, a training Bible, or like how does that?
Are you going to make videos where you're like, hey, welcome to the Chesapeake Learning
maybe.
Center.
I mean, there is some of that because training shouldn't be hard. You should like take the things that feel redundant out of the work because I'm hiring people to think, right? I can automate so much. The people that work for me, it's because they're dynamic. It's because they are people attuned. It's because they're interesting, right? So part of it is like people. I think it starts with who you hire, and are they also like with my clinicians, for instance, are they supporting this kind of culture I want? Like if you want a super hierarchical culture, that's I'm not the place. Right. Like I don't think that certain people have more value because of their credentialing.
Right.
It's, like I always say restaurant doesn't work without the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Most important person in the entire restaurant is the dishwasher, right? So it's a very egalitarian place. It's a very work-life balance place. Like what do I want? And I think there's a lot of conversation and there's a lot of input. We're always better by soliciting everyone's opinion.
Yeah.
And that there really is very little that isn't done from a collaborative mindset. So all of the hires, both on the administrative side and the clinician side, are so strong that we are continually better as a result by bringing them into the dialogue.
Right. Oh my God, that's so smart.
So after going, into quarantine and having more of a facility, I think from what I remember that everything was in-house, like you had to come. So now you've been able to expand the business, if I'm not mistaken, because you can outsource to different states. You're not just limited to. And is that still the case where, your therapists can work with someone in California or?
Not actually. And I think so we did have some expansion. No, you're
Why
not
are you here?
You're not
I don't
wrong.
know.
It's just
You should
more
take a break.
complicated. It was
I need to go to your center.
I mean, I need to go to the center.
No, I really do actually.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there was it was a lawless moment where they just opened up the floodgates and you could practice because people needed services regardless of where they were.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's some motivation in restricting how many doctors and how many, psychiatrists and how many, because they're controlling markets. They're controlling markets through licensure. They're controlling markets through capping how many people come through the program. And whether it's intentional or not, the result is that we don't have enough people.
Shit.
So what happened is that they started closing these portals and going back to more conventional modalities of treatment residentially geographically.
Yeah.
So
I can't get any treatment.
Well, no, they're pushing back, which I love. So there's something called the SIPAC. And as soon as we get 50% of the states to agree, then the whole thing opens up. And if you have a SIPAC license, you can practice in 50 states. So there was this radical opening. There was this backlash.
The pendulum had to swing way far for it to be able to come back too far and now find the sweet spot again.
And there's such a campaign from all doctors of saying you're penalizing so many people that don't have access to specialists, that are living in rural areas. Like, come on, get with it. We demonstrated this works.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm in this weird moment of trying to navigate what was good, what came out of the pandemic that we're never going to go back from. Like, we have a lot less cancellations. Why? Because moms are exhausted. And if they can put their kid online 4 times a month versus having to spend another extra 2 hours with the commute, right, back and forth. There's just more consistency, there's more continuity. Mm-hmm. Now, do I think that sometimes it should be in office for both administrative collaboration or, CEs and should you meet somebody maybe first online? Before you, right. And so what I think we're fighting now is where do we land? I don't think you can just go back to that arbitrarily because that's what feels right, because it was of days of old, right? There's so much good. There's so much we learned about resetting the way we live.
Right.
So I don't want to step away from that, but I am constantly fighting to bring people in the same room.
Yeah. There's something about it. That's in the same with acting and stuff, is now everything's done online. And I was wondering in the beginning about like, how do you cast off of culture or how do you cast off of chemistry if somebody isn't in the room? And I sometimes would book just because I became friends with people. And so navigating that, I think it's interesting because especially in that case, feeling someone's literal energy coming off of them.
Right. Changes the room. It can change the whole
You can smell it.
Vibe.
I mean, I'm not saying you should smell your patients, but
you could.
Let's be my coffee
breath. We're not adverse to it.
Right. Whatever works, right?
But I mean, I absolutely agree. And I think even just meeting someone one time and then being online thereafter, once I've actually met them person to person, has a different relationship, even just knowing them once.
Yeah.
I'm a believer in person. It was It's why I went into it. So I'm struggling
Right.
a little bit. It feels removed. It feels distant.
Because you started out remotely and then you moved there and were in office and had the ability to then kind of like see it for what it really was, not just a kind of a distant place,
I was
right?
in it, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was in it. That was how this industry has been changed forever. The likelihood of it going back
all
is
the way. Yeah.
nil.
Yeah.
Absolutely no. But I think just like any pendulum, I think it will swing back. I think we are having these moments of in-person collaboration or an in-person class, and we're remembering all the good that, like, how great it feels, how the energy you have after those moments. And so it's I think a slow regression back to maybe the middle, but it'll never be what it was.
Yeah.
How are you even, look, you came from that area, right? Like that's where you're from.
Yeah.
So you're in that East Coast world.
Decidedly.
Yes. But you come from that. You went to boarding school when you were in high school. You went to really great colleges as well. Yeah. She went to Columbia and Chapel Hill.
Shit.
Yeah. No big deal. But then she goes to Panama and like totally laxing out. I mean, look, we had some fun though. She was running some
lots of parties.
Some parties, promotion.
What birthday?
40th. 40th, right? The Hip Hop Night Panama.
Hip Hop Night Panama. If you don't know now, you better go look it up. That's what I'm talking about. And then you have to go back into this world. And I'm just, you're almost like you're two different people, or you have to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Without
And so
question.
but how often do you get to be the Panama Langdon?
Almost never.
Never.
Almost never. Yeah.
What are you doing to like?
Do you miss it?
Feel that? What are you doing with your life? What's happening when you're not working and being a mom and it's all crazy?
Well,
to be able to feel that way.
I think you also have to like take it in the context of who I am in this moment too, right? I miss my relationships. I miss my ladies. I miss the lightness of being. I miss the weather. I miss I don't know, just the general sense of calm I would feel. But I don't know if I miss some of the other components. Like I really enjoyed them, but I don't know. I don't think I'm the same person to extract the joy out of these moments. Hip hop. I'm more settled. I need less stimulation. I need less.
You need more consistency and expectation.
But I think that's the thing is we find sort of what we like, right? Like you realize that, no, we don't want to do necessarily hip hop every night because I can't be up that late and I can't drink that much and I can't make that many friends because I don't give a shit about people anymore. And like, you know what I mean? Like all these things.
I don't want to go outside.
Right. But what I do like is the weather and the beach access and the able to take a vacation that feels like a vacation, but it costs very little. Like, so taking a boat out or going to the Bahamas from Florida is like a 45-minute boat ride or like that kind of stuff. So now that you're opening something in Florida, that stuff might like...
You might get the best of both worlds,
I
huh?
don't know. I think life has chapters. And if you resign yourself to the role and the responsibility of each one, it makes it a little less grading. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is my moment. I have a moment where I have 2 kids and I need to finish the job, and I'm in my moment of 50s to I call it like parenting in double directions. I'm supporting my parents now with very significant end of life changes, and I'm parenting my still adolescent kids, and that's just kind of what you do at a certain moment of your life. If you're in it, if you're loyal, if you're committed to your family, there's just a decade where you're grinding it out. And everyone did it. And I know very shortly I'm going to have so much freedom and flexibility and opportunity. You know what I mean?
You see the end of this chapter soon, so you feel like you can be in it a little bit more without feeling anxious about your own self and stuff like that.
Yes, like I feel like in some ways, like I joke about my Panama chapter that it's my well-behaved midlife crisis, but I've had so many moments of joy and fun and experiment. I've lived in countless cities. I've done a lot, right?
Yeah.
So what I need to know is I did this part well, because it's really my most important job that I'll ever have.
That's so smart. And it really takes the anxiety and guilt out of because we want to be it all, right? We
Right,
want to be
exactly.
where did the fun Mel go, or where did the fun,
Right.
whatever. And I got to putting myself out there and and then but I'm tired.
Exactly. That's
Right?
what I was just thinking in my head. I was like,
And sometimes
tired. I
this
don't
is
wanna do all
just
that.
enough. Yeah.
yeah.
And sometimes this is just enough. And I think because we are bred to do it all, to be the
Right.
fun, be the wild, be the exciting, be the mom, be the wife, be the business owner, be the child of aging parents,
Right.
that I feel like we can't do it all. And it's also okay to just be here and
'Cause
do
otherwise
this
you
part
feel like
well,
you're-
like you said.
Can't like get hung up on what you think you're failing at, because there's no possible way anybody can do all of that.
Not only
right?
that, but some of the stuff that we feel like we're failing at, we don't really want to be doing right now anyway.
I mean, yeah, I guess the word is failing. Like,
Right.
are we, putting it on the back burner for a little bit? Are we just like actively deciding to disengage in that part of our life for a minute because it's going to be
Yeah.
okay? We can come back to it. I think failing is like a loaded word, right? So when I'm simplifying,
Yeah.
I'm trying to take choices out. I'm trying to
Yeah.
be realistic about
You
who I
talked about that
Right.
too.
And I'm
Mhm.
bad at it. Like, I'm decidedly bad at it. My life is really, really complicated, right? And I make sometimes unreasonable choices, like being here in LA. I was like, I do not have time for this. I don't care. I'm not missing
Right.
this opportunity.
Yeah, we've
Right.
missed our
Right.
link ups a couple times.
Right?
It's
So, exactly.
hard.
So I think that it's trying to navigate priorities, basically, and boundaries. Because I did
Yeah.
not set them early enough in my life. I would say 40 to 50, I was just available to everyone.
Yes. Jesus fucking
And
no.
I was angry about it. What I
Yeah.
was realizing is I was like, you're making decisions and then you're mad at people because of the decision you made.
Right. Then
So
you resent
I-
other
So
people.
I can't do anything about the way they're behaving. I can only set better boundaries for me.
Yeah.
I'm on my 5th cup of coffee today. I know what you're thinking. Who has that much coffee? And someone should really talk to her about that. No, I'm here to tell you the Café Bustel. This is a secret blend of coffee beans, and they're not telling. Trust me, I've tried. This is high quality espresso style coffee with smooth flavor that provides me with all day energy and minor heart palpitations. It's all right, have a cup, or 2, or 5 today.
I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about this new thing that we found. It is called Moonlight. The magic of Moonlight is simple. It's the experience of reading together with a projection on the wall. Moonlight bridges the gap between traditional and digital books. There are playful projections, vivid sound effects, and read-along features make this multi-sensory storytime a delight. Moonlight is here to help you create imagination-filled, interactive bedtimes for your whole family and make storytime magical again. Use the code Moonlight10 with our link to get an extra 10% off your purchase. It's very cool.
Yeah. No, really though. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
My pleasure.
And
It was
really great.
So again, tell us where your center is.
We're in Bethesda, Maryland, and
Yay.
it's our flagship. But we also are in Fulton, Maryland, and we're in Silver Spring, Maryland, and we're in Ponte Vedra, Florida.
Dag, and it's
So
called the
spell-
Chesapeake.
The Chesapeake Center
Uh-huh.
for ADHD, Learning, and Behavioral Health.
Well,
It's a
everybody
big,
that
wordy
listens
thing,
here
but
has
there's a lot of
ADHD,
stuff.
I'm sure.
Well, they
That's
do
how they-
now because they listen to us and we're like contagious.
I tell everybody you can thank me because this center would not exist if I wasn't such a train wreck.
There
Right?
you go. Oh, I
was my
love that.
mother's inspiration. I
You
know.
were actually.
I know.
No, that's not a lie.
And I have helped thousands of people as a result.
Oh,
Oh my
that's
God.
right.
That is, I just got the chills. That's amazing. Oh
Are you
my
on
God.
social media at all, or is it
Yeah,
Chesapeake
we
Center?
have a very large social media presence.
Okay,
on
and
Instagram
it's-
and on Facebook
Okay.
and Twitter and LinkedIn.
Well, you'll find it on our link. We'll get all of
YouTube,
those
yeah.
things, and
Yeah.
I don't think you're on social media. Are you very much? I mean, a little
I
here's
don't know
and
if I'm
there's.
as social media oriented as I used to be.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I
Yeah.
want off.
Oh, well, we have to
talk
for
about
work.
it.
That's really
I
the
don't-
only
I
reason
don't
why
want to
I do
anymore.
it. Oh, well,
We're
so
gonna talk
you
about it
won't hear
'cause I
from
want
us
out.
anymore. No,
No,
it'll be
bye.
me. It'll be me. And good luck with that. Thank you,
All right,
Langdon,
thank
so
you.
much.
That was
Love
nice.
you, girl.
Moms are too.
Got something to tell ya
Right now.
today.
Oh. I was watching and listening to the Alex Murdoch murder case, right?
Yeah.
And I try to be as like unbiased as possible. And I understand this guy for murdered his fucking family. But I try to be like, if I was a juror, right? How would I? So I'm trying to listen to like all of the, things. And I was thinking like, he isn't guilty. Well, from what I'm hearing right now, he's not guilty. And then like someone asked me, or in my conversations in my head, and then I was like, but I didn't watch the whole trial. I only watched a little bit of it. And then I thought, well, that's how fucking stupid I am. Like, I totally jumped to conclusions about he's not guilty.
You know what, though? I didn't really think it was. I wasn't sure.
I
wasn't sure until, I don't know. I felt the same way. I was just like, some things just don't add up. I thought there was at least a reasonable doubt.
I did too.
But other people didn't believe him.
I listened to too many murder casts where I'm really invested in like how I should listen. I listen to all the murder casts, which means I am always listening to the murder casts that are like, they were in prison for 30 years and then the DNA came out and it takes 20 more years to like get them out of prison and whatever. And so I go in with this. And that guy, I mean, he's good,
he's guilty of murdering his family.
I know.
And now you have massive anxiety.
Yeah. And I feel that maybe we don't need to, like, maybe as a society, we just shouldn't judge what we see on the news. That's the only thing I came out with. He's probably guilty.
He probably is.
I mean, we'll find out in 30
years. Too many people died.
Too many people
on his property.